November 2nd, 2019, Congresswoman Nanette Barragan had a town hall to talk about impeachment and Medicare, which was wonderful. We got to hear her ideas. I always appreciate when we have Congress people and senators coming into town and expressing their ideas, because what it is we have a representative democracy here, and these people essentially vote for us on certain policies. So I had a question for Ms. Nanette, which had more to do with the financing of Medicare for all. And by all conservative measures, for example, Elizabeth Warren's plan would be about $20 trillion over a 10-year lifespan, 10-year span. So I mentioned this to her, and she said, oh no, Democrats are actually fiscally conservative. And I mentioned to her that during President Obama's term, 8-year term, he expanded the national deficit from 10 to $20 trillion. So President Bush expanded it from 5 to 10, and then Obama from 10 to $20 trillion.
Miguel Sanchez. Miguel is raising his hand over here. Do you want me to read your card? Or do you have a copy that you want to read out? How will government be transparent about the $20 trillion Medicare for All tab without debt monetization? Well, again, I think right now Congress is not doing Medicare for All. Okay, so I can tell you right now, Congress is not taking it up. So when the conversation happens, there will certainly be a conversation about how do you pay for it. Well, hold on, I'm not done here with the answer. You want to talk about the debt? The debt has exploded under this administration. And when President Obama handed off this economy, it was in great shape. And the debt was going down. So the debt exploded after this alleged tax cut. I don't know about you, but I had to pay $5,000 this year in taxes. The first time I've ever had to pay more money. And that tax benefit went to the top 1% of the corporations. And so we have exploded the debt to benefit the wealthiest instead of exploding the debt. If you're going to do it, geez, provide us all health care. Provide us all education. Provide us all access to fix the infrastructure and the streets out here. Right? And so when people talk to me about the debt, I think the party of fiscal responsibility is no more. The Democrats have been the party of fiscal responsibility. Let me tell you what is happening. Under this Congress, when Democrats are in control, we put in called a pay for, which means we're not going to pass anything unless we can pay for it. Did the other side do that when they were in control? You bet they didn't. So I can tell you, when I hear about the deficit and how we can't afford it, nobody asked how we were going to afford to give corporations a 1% at the top, a tax cut, including the top 1%. So what's your follow-up question? You got me a little bit rattled up.
Are fiscally conservative. When Obama entered office, there was a $10 trillion debt. We left off, it was $20 trillion. $23 trillion. My question is, when this bill does pass, will you monetize the debt?
Well, you know, we're not even at the legislation. I think it's premature. I think it's premature to even have this conversation because we don't know how the structure is going to be. We don't yet know how it will be set up. So I can tell you that the Affordable Care Act has expanded healthcare access to a lot of Americans, a lot of people in this district who have access. And I share your concern about the debt, and I hope that you will make sure to reach out to the administration about your concern of having the largest debt ever in the history of Congress. So it is a real concern. I'm going to take one more question on healthcare, and we're going to move on to impeachment. But then I'm going to open it up for questions after that, and they can be both on impeachment or on healthcare. So where's our microphone?
So when Nanette talks about how the fudge is packed or the hot dogs are made, She didn't really go over that descriptively. She just said, "Hey, it's a human right. We all need health care." But what she lacks to emphasize is the responsibility of the individual, because they like to talk about healthcare for all. It's a human right, and I think some people even said healthcare for everybody that's in this country. And the biggest concern for me is how we're gonna pay for it. And they're gonna say, no, well, we have such a massive military budget, and we have all these other programs, and we have subsidies. Why can't we allocate some of the budget from military to this? And what my claim and what libertarians believe is, hey, let's get rid of the Federal Reserve, number one. Number two, let's demilitarize. Number three, let's stop this what we call just expansion of the national debt. Let's pay down our debt. Let's pay down what we own already. So if we break down the national debt at this, from my point of view, it's $23 trillion. It would take every single second to pay $1,000 for 729 years for this debt to get paid, right? So the insanity is they don't believe in paying the debt down anymore, specifically Democrats now, because we have Stephanie Kelton, which is Bernie Sanders' economic advisor. She's actually in the forefront of MMT, along with Warren Mosler and a couple of other academics, or what I call the neo-Keynesians. So they're saying, hey, debt doesn't matter anymore. We can just print prosperity, which is a fallacy. It didn't work in Zimbabwe. It didn't work in the Weimar Republic of Germany during the 20s. It doesn't work. So they're just going to keep on repeating the same mistakes. And, when we talk about Medicare for all, again, the responsibility of the individual, because we have a country that has an opioid problem. People, specifically in my generation, are hooked on all these prescription medicines and heroin and stuff like that. When we should actually be emphasizing, hey, let's get these people off this junky stuff, and actually putting them in situations where they can prosper, right? And the only way to do this is to deregulate, take down the Federal Reserve, let individuals keep their money and not have these confiscatory taxes with inflation. Because, as we know, the CPI, Consumer Price Index, is skewed. The Federal Reserve saying, hey, we don't have inflation. Yes, we do. By the currency school standards, by how the Austrians look at it, which is there's three phases. We have expansion of the money supply. That's phase one. Phase two is rising asset prices, and phase three is the price of goods rising. So now we're at phase two. We see equities, the S&P, NASDAQ at all-time highs. Russell not so much, because it is dominated by mostly domestic companies. I'm sick and tired of politicians trying to promise something. Just keep on promising. Here's more handouts. Here you go. Instead of talking about responsibility. People want handout. I want a handout too. Shit. Who doesn't want free things? But these free things come with a price tag, right? Or somebody's paying for these things. And as of now, the collective is paying through debt monetization, which is the worst kind of way to finance something, is going into debt. And the levels of bureaucracy and malinvestment that are baked into the cake just makes the quality of the product much less valuable, or it's horrible. Anything that government gets involved in, specifically healthcare, the quality goes down. Right? Instead of having the government get involved in these industries, we should have deregulation. We should have free markets. We should have people, if, for example, when you have a phone, when you purchase a phone, right? Let's say a phone 10 years ago relative to a phone today, the quality is much, much better, and the price came down. That's because of the free market. That's because of competition. But when you have government, working its way into it, and creating a bureaucracy, then that's when you have all this inflation going on, because these people got to get paid too. This bureaucracy. But I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to have much, much more content coming up. We're going to head into the election cycle. We're heading into 2020. So we're just going to prepare ourselves and get the right news, get the right kind of information out there, not listening to Fox News, not paying too much attention to CNN or MSNBC or even PBS. Let's try to delineate between what is opinion and what is news. Austrian, signing out.